still expected to be on the heavier side getting into those overnight hours. Let me bring it back here real quick. Heavy rainfall is still expected as some of those showers work their way on through. I think additional totals of a ½ inch, maybe all the way up to an inch if things line up right, is possible. And that's going to result in some potential flash flooding. But I think the heaviest outputs are behind a lot of locations. And that heaviest output is still going to be further south towards the Golden Triangle and right south of Highway 82. As we got more pictures coming in, this is some unique alto stratus clouds almost that we're getting a visual of, and some alto cumulus mixing in there as well. This was taken in Ackerman by Blaze, and I believe this was Blaze again. Yes, these two photos submitted by him are submitted by Blaze, and you can see that we are getting some breakup right there. And again, that blue sky that usually destabilizes the air, not in this case, mixing that moisture out. And even right here, Ackerman showing a little bit of that mixing out once again. So helped stabilize our atmosphere and helped get better conditions here in North Mississippi. Some of the latest pictures that are coming in, and I'll just kind of cycle these on in. Yeah, so there's your sunshine peeking through. And I'm wondering who that's from. That's from Nikki in Peppertown, so that makes sense. It's sunshine after the threat. Let me check my radar behind the scenes as Matt's working to get the show ready for the 5 o'clock hour. You can see that we are seeing much drier conditions. I think a lot of those showers have moved on out. Yeah, and we're getting a break in Peppertown. There's no rainfall in the area right now, and folks enjoying a little bit of a peaceful afternoon, at least a break and some peaceful hours of the afternoon before more of those storms do move in tonight. Those storms not expecting to be as strong as that threat has pushed to the south. Hear rumble of thunder into those evening plans. Looking at these latest photos, these are of course the latest on the Mississippi Live weather app, and if you have any, make sure to send those in as well. And Blaze submitting this once again, and this is going to be closer to the Mathiston area. And again, you're just getting some of that patchy cloud cover, but not anything overly concerning, not anything that stands out or jumps out to me as strong to severe. I think we're remaining below severe limits, and again, checking the radar here, by seeing anything that stands out. Like I said, it's got some heft to it in the town. To later hours, a few of those gusty winds, a bit of a hail core developed to it as well. So, once everything's ready for that 5, I think that's one to definitely pay attention to and kind of track that out. One thing I do want to do real quick is get over here to surface observations, because this has been updating throughout the day, and you can see, I wonder if I can just do it on the latest scan and not have this move. Unfortunately, no. So Columbus has mixed down to 61 degrees, Greenwood 61 degrees, Tupelo 59. Yeah, this is not a setup that is exactly conducive for severe weather. Even down there towards Winston County, it's in the mid 60s. That cell, this is the one that we're watching behind the scenes, that one that's just southeast of Greenwood, kind of moving in that northeast direction. This is moving right over the boundary as we speak, and honestly, I don't see it increasing much beyond this point. So that's kind of the one to pay attention to. It's got a little bit of a court to it, some sub-severe gust, but definitely the one that stands out of all that we have on radar so far.
Absolutely, and we'll look more closely at that coming up here in a couple minutes. We're going to take a brief break here for just a second and be back with more Mississippi Live weather right after this.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Okay, welcome back here to the Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologists Gabe Maynor, Caleb Edelblut, as we're continuing on storms. One in particular that we're looking at here, still some lightning on it, still fairly heavy in the southern part of Montgomery County that is kind of moving toward the north and east. We're going to have a complete wrap up of everything to do with all the thunderstorms we have out there coming up here in a few minutes as we're still watching it. But this is the one thunderstorm. If there's one that we're still tracking that we think could produce severe weather, this is one that we're most looking at. Now, the hail threat is not high on it, but if we check in particular our True Shield hail track, we do have some hail showing up there near Carmack. approaching Huntsville, Mississippi, and moving toward Bywai. I saw Bywai in the comments a minute ago. Somebody was asking, what about this? What about Columbus and Ackerman, some other spots? This one probably a little north of Ackerman, the track that it will take. So let's get a storm track on that. And while I think it had maybe a little bit of rotation earlier on, and we're looking an awfully long distance away from the radar site, so I can't say with 100% assurance there. Any rotation we have is pretty broad on that storm. And I think the storm that, again, that's kind of north of Ackerman, somewhat heavy as well. But there's a boundary here, an area of rain-cooled air, and this is pretty close to that. And that's one of the things that's kind of helped to produce more, could potentially help it to produce more active weather going forward. So let's give you an hour track here that does kind of include locations there around the Starkville area. And so as you'll note here, we get it through a lot of those subdivisions in Starkville. We show around 547 or so there. 8 to 10 on the west side of town there. That's actually where our camera is located that we show in Starkville on the west side there at 540. But in the shorter term here, Bywai 516, Williams at 520 there. We're looking 522 closer there toward the Sherwood area by, again, around 526. Maben, again, another camera that we have located there at about that time. Speaking of the cameras, we do pair up with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers to utilize these cameras across North Mississippi. This is shot here from the Ackerman area, and our camera there looking back into some of the heavy rainfall. Again, kind of dark, low-hanging. Looking at this point here, this shot looking toward the north with this. And unfortunately, I don't have the inset of the radar on that. Gabe, add that to the list of things we're going to have to worry about on this as well. But kind of this would be, again, one of those heavier showers, again, moving from left to right across this screen. So organized, yes. Severe, not quite at this point. I think it's heavy enough that looking behind the scenes, the National Weather Service going ahead and putting out what's called a special weather statement regarding this, saying, hey, it's possible this could be a stronger storm that we're looking at, and certainly a possibility that we see that out of this as well. So not impossible to get from time to time some stronger wind gusts out of the heaviest of these storms, and this would be one that might produce a few hailstones as well if it can continue at the pace that it's at. I'm going to bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor. He was kind of doing some assessment behind the scenes, and then he's going to look at this briefly for about a minute or two, and then we're going to launch our 5 o'clock newscast here. So Gabe, what are you seeing as of 4:58?
There we go. Yeah, so just continue to look at those surface observations remaining well below what the environment needs to produce those severe storms. I mean, there's a couple of boundaries that are acting as that lifting mechanism, but nothing stands out as of this point as getting close to it. Just maybe some of that hail that develops closer to the Greenwood area. As you can see, kind of, that's one of our intensifying storms, but it's just underperformed so far. And again, like someone said earlier on, love that we're in a community where we can talk about underperforming and it be a good thing. So grateful for that. I do want to say latest development out of Holmes County, and this is something that we'll look at here real quick, is going to be some of those outages that have taken place. And you can see close to the Durant area, that is where we had one of our stronger storms move through, the one that we were just tracking a moment ago, and we're tracking 340 outages just east of I-55, closer to the Durant area, right along South Jackson Street, Highway 51, is that Highway 12? Yes. And Bowling Green Road. So Bowling Green Road. So that's kind of the area we're kind of focused on, as there's multiple outages. And of course, we'll do a deeper dive on this coming up at 5 o'clock of where that storm moved through.